The worsening economic situation, overwhelmed healthcare infrastructure, and the shortage of medical supplies and protective gear is making the people of many European countries concerned. But there is one thing that is getting better, and that is the quality of air that we breathe. To know more, watch this report.
After the coronavirus crisis hit Europe and lockdown was enforced in many places, the European Space Agency released images that showed a sharp reduction in pollution in many European cities. In terms of nitrogen dioxide concentrations, dramatic reductions were noted in the areas in and around Paris, Rome and Milan. For decades, we in Europe have battled dangerously high levels of nitrogen dioxide, and in the end, it took a virus to help our skies from this dangerous pollutant. On September the 11th, 2018, the official website of the European Court of Auditors reported, every year air pollution causes about 400,000 premature deaths in the European Union and hundreds of billions of euros in health-related external costs. If the current pollution levels in Europe are already bad enough for you, then imagine what it would be like if we were to produce everything that we consume on our own, and in our own territories. Let's admit this. We in the West outsource our pollution to other nations. Well, we need immigrants to increase our manpower, and since that's not enough, we also need China and many other nations where we've outsourced our factories as well as the pollution that comes along with it. The Western nations develop their economies on the basis of a model which is centered around greed-driven consumerism, a model which was also later adopted by many developing nations. Today, we are complaining about our overdependence on China, but it's also us who should be held responsible. To an extent, we are overdependent on China because of our own greed-driven consumer habits. The West wanted to get rid of its unwanted waste, so it decided to dump it in the poor and developing nations, even though, on many occasions, it's been caught red-handed. For example, in 2013, Interpol revealed that 1 in 3 containers leaving the European Union contained illegal e-waste, which was classified as used goods. On multiple occasions, the Philippines president has asked Canada to take back its 100 shipping containers of trash which were sent to Manila in 2013 and 2014, disguised as recyclable material. Calculations of emissions, which is based on consumption instead of production, is a great way to hold those countries responsible, which consume goods that cause emissions elsewhere. In relation to that, take a look at this to familiarize yourself with the countries that are topping this chart. As far as historical responsibility is concerned, give this a thought. Emissions in the atmosphere easily last for centuries, and it's totally fair to hold the countries responsible for climate change by calculating their historical or cumulative emissions. Did you know that almost 80% of our planet's historical emissions have come just from Europe and the USA? Before we get upset regarding our overdependence on China and on other nations for various goods, let us also calculate how many lives we are saving in our own countries by outsourcing the pollution to other nations that is caused due to the production of those goods. It's also important to look at our own greed-driven behaviours and consumer habits that are responsible for this situation. Maybe it's also important to finally remodel our economy from one that doesn't understand prosperity without consumerism. Only then we may achieve some self-dependence that we are so desperate for these days. Until then, we will need China.